Motherly Love by August Strindberg. At Rise, the mother and the aunt are smoking cigars, drinking stout, and playing cards. The daughter sits nearby.
Come along, Helen. It's your deal.
Oh, please let me off playing cards on a fine summer day like this.
That's right. Nice and affectionate to her mother, as usual.
Don't sit like that on the veranda and get scorched.
The sun isn't a bit hot here.
Well, there's a draft anyway. Your deal, dear. Righto.
Might I go and swim this morning with the other girls?
Not without your mama. You know that once for all.
Oh, but the girls know how to swim, and you don't.
That's not the question, whether a body can swim or not. But you know, my child, that you mustn't go without your mama.
Do I know it? Since I've been able to understand the simplest thing, that's been dinned into my ears.
That only shows that Helen has had a most affectionate mother who has always tried her best. Yes, yes, no doubt about it.
Thank you for your kindly words, Augusta. Whatever else I may have been, that. But I've always been a tender-hearted mother. I can say that with a clear conscience.
Then I suppose it's no good my asking you if I can go down and have a game of tennis with the others.
No, no, young lady. A girl shouldn't sauce her mama. And when she won't oblige those who are nearest and dearest to her by taking part in their harmless fun, it's in a matter of speaking, adding insult to injury for her to come and ask on top of it if she can't go and amuse herself with other people.
Yes, yes, yes. I know that already. I know.
You're making yourself disagreeable again. Get something proper to do, and don't sit slacking there in that fashion, a grown-up girl like you.
Then why do you always treat me like a child if I'm grown up?
Because you behave like one.
You have no right to rag me. You yourself wanted me to remain like this.
Look here, Helen. For some time past, I think you've been a bit too bloomin' smart. Come, whom have you been talking to down here?
With you two, amongst others.
You mean to say you're going to start having secrets from your own mother?
It's about time.
Shame on you, you young thing, being so cheeky to your own mother.
Come, let's do something sensible instead of jangling like this. Why not come over here and read over your part with me?
The manager said I wasn't to go through it with anyone, because if I did, I should only learn something wrong.
I see. So that's the thanks one gets for trying to help you. Of course, of course. Everything that I do is always silly, I suppose.
Why do you do it then? And why do you put the blame on me whenever you do something wrong?
Want to remind your mother that she ain't educated. Ugh, how common.
You say I want to, Aunt, but that's not the case. If Mother goes and teaches me anything wrong, I've got to learn the whole thing over again if I don't want to lose my engagement. We don't want to find ourselves stranded.
I see. You're now letting us know that we're living on what you earn. But do you really know what you owe Aunt Augusta here? Do you know that she looked after us when your blackguard of a father left in the lurch? That she took care of us, and that you therefore owe her a debt which you can never pay off in all your born days? Do you know that? Do you know that? Answer.
I refuse to answer.
You do you? You won't answer.
Steady on, Amelia. The people next door might hear us and they'd start gossiping again. So you go steady.
Put on your things and come out for a walk.
I'm not going out for a walk today.
This is now the third day that you've refused to go out for a walk with your mother. Would it be possible? Go out on the veranda, Helen. I want to say something to Aunt Augusta. Do you think it's possible
What?
that she's found out something?
It ain't possible.
It might happen, of course. Not that I think anybody could be so heartless as to tell it to her face. I had a nephew who was 36 years old before he found out that his father was a suicide. But Helen's manners changed, and there's something at the bottom of it. For the last 8 days, I've noticed that she couldn't bear my being with her on the promenade. She'd only go along lonely paths. When anyone met us, she looked the other way. She was nervous, couldn't manage to get a single word out. There's something behind all this.
Mean, if I follow you aright, that the society of her mother is painful to her? The society of her own mother?
Yes.
No, that's really a bit too bad.
Well, I'll tell you something which is even worse. Would you believe it that when we came here, she didn't introduce me to some of her friends on the steamer?
You know what I think? She's met someone or other who's arrived here the last week. Come, let's toddle down to the post office and find out about the latest arrivals.
Yes, let's do that. I say, Helen, just mind the house a minute. We're only going down to the post for a moment.
Yes, Mama.
And just as though I dreamt all of this before.
Yes, dreams come true sometimes. I know that all right. But not the nice ones.
Have they gone yet?
Yes, but they'll soon be coming back.
Well, what did your mother say?
I haven't even had the pluck to ask her. She was in such a temper.
Poor Helen. So you can't come with us on the excursion? And I was looking forward to it so much. If you only knew how fond I am of you.
If you only knew, dear, what these days have meant to me since I've made your acquaintance and visited your house, have meant to a girl like me, who's never mixed with decent people in her whole life. Just think what must have been for me. Up to the present, I've been living in a den where the air was foul, where shady, mysterious people came in and out who spied and brawled and wrangled, where I've never heard a kind word, much less ever got a caress, and where my soul was watched like a prisoner. Oh, I'm talking like this about my mother, and it hurts me, and you will only despise me for it.
Oh, one can't be made responsible for one's parents.
No, but you've got to pay the penalty for them. At any rate, they say that very often one doesn't find out before the end of one's life the kind of people one's own parents, with whom one's lived all one's life, have really been. And I picked up this as well. Even if one doesn't get to hear about it, One doesn't believe a word.
Have you heard anything?
Yeah. When I was in the bathhouse 3 days ago, I heard through the wall what people were saying about my mother. Do you know what it was?
Don't bother about it.
They said my mother had just been a common creature. I wouldn't believe it. I won't yet believe it. That I feel that it's true. It all fits in to make it probable. And I'm ashamed of going near her because I think that people stare at us, that men throw us looks. It's too awful. But is it true? Tell me if you think it's true.
People tell so many lies, and I don't know anything.
Yes, you do know. You do know something, and you won't tell me. And I thank you for it, but I'm equally miserable whether you tell me or whether you don't.
My darling friend, knock that thought out of your head and come home to us. You'll find you'll get along splendidly with everyone. My father arrived early this morning. He asked after you and wanted to see you. I ought, of course, to tell you they have written to him about you. And cousin Gerhard as well, because I think,
Yeah, you have a father, and I had one too when I was still quite tiny.
what became of him then?
Mother says he left us because he was a bad lot.
It's hard to find where the truth lies. But I tell you what, if you come home to us now, you'll meet the director of the Imperial Theater. And it's possible it might be a question of an engagement.
What do you say?
Yes, that's it. And he takes an interest in you. I mean, Gerhard and I have made him take an interest in you. And you know quite well what trifles often decide one's whole life. A personal interview, a good recommendation at the right moment. Well, now you can't refuse any longer without standing in the way of your own career.
Oh, darling, I should think I did want to come. You know that quite well. But I don't go out without Mama.
Why not? Can you give me any reason?
I don't know. She taught me to say that when I was a child, and now it's got deeply rooted.
Has she extracted some promise from you?
No, she didn't have any need to do that. She just said, say that, and I said it.
Do you think that you going, do you think then that you're doing her a wrong if you leave her for an hour or two?
I don't think that she would miss me because when I'm at home, she always got some fault to find with me. But I should find it painful if I went to a house when she wasn't allowed to come too.
Do you mean to say you've thought of the possibility of her visiting us?
No, God forgive me. I never thought of that for a moment.
But supposing you were to get married,
I shall never get married.
has your mother taught you to say that as well?
Yes, probably. She's always warned me of men,
Of married men as well?
presumably.
Look here, Helen, you should really emancipate yourself.
Oh, I haven't the faintest desire to be a new woman.
No, I don't mean that, but you must free yourself from a position of dependence which you have grown out of and which may make you unhappy for life.
I scarcely think I shall ever be able to. Just consider how I've been tied down to my mother since I was a child. to think that I never dared to think a thought that wasn't hers. Have never wished anything but her wishes. I know that's a handicap and it stands in my way, but I can't do anything against it.
And if your mother goes to rest, one fine day, you'll be all alone in the world.
That's how I shall find myself.
But you've got no set, no friends, and no one can live as lonely as all that. You must find some firm support. Have you ever been in love?
I don't know. I never dared to think of anything like that. And Mother has never allowed young men to even look at me. Do you yourself think of such things?
Yes, if anyone's fond of me and I should like to have him.
You'll probably marry your cousin Gerhard.
I shall never do that because he does not love me.
Not love you.
No, because he's fond of you.
Me?
Yes, and he has commissioned me to inquire if he can call on you.
Here? No, that's impossible. And besides, do you think I would stand in your way? Do you think I could supplant you in this regard? You who are so pretty, so delicate? What a hand and the wrist. I saw your foot when we were in the bathhouse together. A foot on which there isn't even a crooked nail, on which the toes are as round and as rosy as a baby's hand. You belong to the nobility. You're made of different stuff from what I am.
Leave off, please, and don't talk so sillily. If you only knew. But
And I'm sure you're as good as you're beautiful. We always think down below here that when we look at you above there with your delicate chiseled features, where trouble hasn't made any wrinkles, where envy and jealousy have not drawn their hateful lines.
look here, Helen, I really think you're quite mad on me.
Yeah, I am that too. I wish I were like you a bit, just as the miserable whitlow grass like an anemone. And that's why I see you my better self, something that I should like to be and can never be. You have tripped into my life during the last summer days as lightly and as delicately as an angel. Now autumn's come. The day after tomorrow, we go back to town. And then we shan't know each other anymore. And we mustn't know each other anymore. You can never draw me up, dear, but I can draw you down. And I don't want to do that. I want to have you so high and far away that I can't see your blemishes. And so, goodbye, Lisa, my first and my only friend.
No, that's enough. Helen, do you know who I am? Well, I am your sister.
You? What can you mean?
We have the same father.
And you are my sister? My little sister? But where is my father then? Oh, but of course, he must be captain of a yacht because your father is one. How silly I am. But then he married after. Is he kind to you? He wasn't to my mother.
You don't know, but aren't you awfully glad to have found a little sister? One too, who isn't so very loud.
Oh, rather. I- I'm so glad that I really don't know what to say. But I really daren't be properly glad because I don't know what's going to happen after all this. What will Mother say? And what will it like to meet Papa?
Just leave your mother to me. She can't be far away now. And you keep in the background till you are wanted. And now come give me a kiss, little one.
My sister. How strange the words sound, just like the word father when one has never uttered it.
Don't let's go on chattering now, but let's stick to the point. Do you think that your mother would still refuse her permission if we were to invite you to come see your sister and your father?
Without my mother? Oh, she hates my father so dreadfully.
But suppose she has no reason to do so. If you only knew how full the world is of concoctions and lies and mistakes and misunderstandings. My father used to tell a story of a chum he used to have when he first went to sea as a cadet. A gold watch was stolen from one of the officers, and God knows why. Suspicion fell on the cadet. His mates avoided him, and that embittered him to such an extent that he became impossible to associate with. Got mixed up in a row and had to leave. 2 years afterward, the thief was discovered in the person of a bosun. But no satisfaction could be given to the innocent boy because people had already been suspicious of him. And the suspicion will stick to him for the rest of his life, although it was refuted. And the wretch still keeps the nickname which was given to him at the time.
Do you mean to say that my father has not always been what I thought he was?
Yes, that's just it.
This is how I see him sometimes in dreams, since I lost all recollection of him. Isn't he fairly tall with a dark beard and big blue sailor eyes?
Yes, more or less.
And then, wait, now I remember. Did you see this watch? There's a little compass fastened on the chain, and on the compass at the north, there's an eye. Who gave me that?
Your father. I was there when he bought it.
Then it's he whom I've seen so often in the theater when I was playing. He always sat in the left stage box and held opera glasses trained on me. I never dared tell Mother because she was always so very nervous about me. And once he threw me flowers, but Mother burned them. Do you think it was he?
It was he. You can count on it that during all these years, his eye has followed you like the eye of the needle on a compass.
And you tell me I shall see him and he wants to meet me. It's like a fairy tale.
The fairy tale's over now. I hear your mother. You get back. I'm going first to face the fire.
Something's dreadful's gonna happen now. I feel it. Why can't people agree with each other and be at peace? Oh, if only it were over. If Mama would only be nice. I pray to God outside there to make her soft-hearted. But I'm certain he can't do it. I don't know why.
He can do it, and he will. If you can only have a little faith in happiness and in your own strength.
Strength. What for? To be selfish? I can't do it. And the enjoyment of a happiness that is bought at the cost of someone else's unhappiness cannot be lasting.
Indeed. Now go out.
How can you possibly believe this is going to turn out all right?
Hush. Madame,
Miss, if you don't mind.
your daughter?
Yes, I have a daughter, even though I'm only a miss. And indeed, that happens to many of us. But I'm not a bit ashamed of it. But what's it all about?
The fact is, I'm commissioned to ask you if Miss Helen can join in an excursion which some visitors have got up.
Hasn't Helen herself answered you?
Yes, she has very properly answered that I should address myself to you.
That wasn't a straightforward answer. Helen, my child, do you want to join a party to which your mother isn't invited?
Yes, if you'll allow it.
If I allow it. How can I decide what a big girl like you is to do? You yourself must tell the young lady what you want. If you want to leave your mother alone in disgrace, well, you gad about and have a good time. If you want people to ask after Mama, and for you to have to try to wriggle out of the answer, she's been left out of the invitation because and because and because. Now say what you really want to do.
My dear lady, don't let's beat about the bush. I know perfectly well the view Helen takes of this business, and I know your method of getting her to make that particular answer, which happens to suit you. If you are as fond of your daughter as you say you are, you ought to wish what's best for her, even though it might be humiliating for you.
Look here, my girl. I don't know what your name is or who you are, even though I haven't had the privilege of being introduced to you. But I should really like to know what a girl of your ears has got to teach a woman of mine.
Who knows? For the last 6 years since my mother died, I have spent all my time in bringing up my young sisters and brothers. And I've found out that there are people who never learn anything from life, however old they get.
What do you mean?
I mean this. Your daughter has now got an opportunity of taking her place in the world, of either getting recognition for her talent or of contracting an alliance with a young man in good position.
That sounds all very well, but what do you propose to do about me?
You're not the point. Your daughter is. Can't you think of her for a single minute without immediately thinking of yourself?
Ah, but mind you, when I think of myself, I think of my daughter at the same time because she has learnt to love her mother.
I don't think so. She depends on you because you've shut her off from the rest of the world. And she must have someone to depend on since you've stolen her away from her father.
What's that you say?
That you took the child away from her father when he refused to marry you because you hadn't been faithful to him. Then you prevented him from seeing his child and avenged yourself on him and upon your child.
Helen, don't you believe a single word of anything she says. That I should live to see such a day. For a stranger to intrude into my home and insult me in the presence of my own child.
You have no business to say anything bad about my mother.
It's impossible to do otherwise if I'm to say anything good about my father. Anyway, I observe that the conversation is nearly over. So allow me to give you one or two pieces of advice. Get rid of the procuress who finds herself so at home under the name of Aunt Augusta, if you don't want your daughter's reputation to be absolutely ruined. That's tip number one. Further, put in order all your receipts for the money which you had from my father for Helen's education, because settlement day is precious near. That's tip number two. And now for an extra tip. Leave off persecuting your daughter with your company in the street, and above all, at the theater, because if you don't, she's barred from any engagement, and then you'll go about trying to sell her favors, just as, up to present, you've been trying to buy back your lost respectability at the expense of her father.
Leave this house. You find nothing sacred, not even motherhood.
A sacred motherhood, I must say.
It seems now as though you've only come into this house to destroy us, and not for a single moment to put matters right.
Yes, I did. I came here to put right the good name of my father, who was perfectly guiltless. I came also to put you right. You, who've been the victim of a woman whose one and only chance of rehabilitation is by retiring to a place where she won't be disturbed by anybody, and where she, on her side, won't disturb anybody's peace. That's why I came. I have done my duty. Goodbye.
Miss Lisa, don't go before I've said one thing. You came here apart from all the other tomfoolery to invite Helen out to your place.
Yes, she was to meet the director of the Imperial Theater, who takes quite an interest in her.
What's that? The director? And you've never mentioned a word about it. Yes, Helen may go alone. Yes, without me.
Well, after all, it was only human nature that you should have carried on like that. Helen, you must come, don't you see?
Yes, but now I don't want to anymore.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm not fitted for society. I shall never feel comfortable anywhere where my mother is despised.
Stuff and nonsense. You surely ain't going to go and cut your own throat. Now you just go and dress so as to look all right.
No, I can't, Mother. I can't leave you now that I know everything. I shall never have another happy hour. I can never believe in anything again.
Now you shall reap what you have sown. If one day a man comes and makes your daughter his bride, then you'll be alone in your old age. And then you'll have time to be sorry for your foolishness. Goodbye. Goodbye, sister.
Goodbye.
Look me in the face and try to seem as though you've had some hope in life.
I can't. I can't thank you either for your goodwill, for you have given me more pain than you know. You woke me with a snake when I lay in the sunshine in a wooded precipice and slept.
Give me another chance, and I'll wake you with songs and flowers. Good night. Sleep well.
An angel of light in white garments, I suppose. No, she's a devil, a regular devil. And you, how silly you've been behaving. What madness next, I wonder? Playing the sensitive when other people's hides are so thick.
Think of you being able to tell me those untruths, deceiving me so that I talked thus about my father during so many years.
Oh, come on. It's no good crying over spilt milk.
And then again, Aunt Augusta.
Stop it. Aunt Augusta is a most excellent woman to whom you are under a great obligation.
That's not true either. It was my father, I'm sure, who had me educated.
Well, yes, it was. But I too have to live. You're so petty and you're vindictive as well. Can't you forget a little taradiddle like that? Hello, Augusta's here already. Come along. Now let us humble folk amuse ourselves as best we can.
Yes, it was he. Right enough. You see, I guessed quite right.
Oh well, don't let's bother about the blackguard.
Don't speak like that, Mother. It's not a bit true.
What's not true?
Come along. We'll play cards. I can't pull down the wall which you've taken so many years to build up. Come along then.
Well, you've come to your senses at last, my gal.